Thank you, and through you, I can confirm that we do have quorum.
Wonderful. Then let's call the meeting to order at 1 o'clock. Good to see everybody. So with confirmation, we have quorum, called the meeting to order. So our first item is to approve the agenda. Can I please have a mover and seconder? Thank you. Moved by Nada. And Nada, just confirming I said your name correctly. Okay, thank you. And I need a seconder, please. Thank you. Seconded by Ambalika. If you are a committee member, would you mind turning your camera on for voting, please? Sorry, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Good to see you. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, confirmation of minutes is next. We need to confirm the minutes of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee meeting number 03/2024, held on June 24th, 2024. If there are no amendments, can I please have a mover and a seconder? Thank you. Moved by Nada. Need a seconder. Thank you, Johnson. Moved by or seconded by Johnson. All those in favor? Just need to see a hand for a vote, please. Thank you. Okay.
Yep.
And that's carried. Good. Thanks. Okay. So are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item. There are no delegations, and please note in the addendum that delegation 1 has been withdrawn. There are no briefings, and so we are on to business. We have the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office Report, Q3 2024, and I will invite staff to introduce this report. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vanessa, and nice to see you all again. Today, I have two major things that I want to discuss with you. But before we start that, I do want to just introduce you to two new hires that we have to you today. And so we have Caitlin Green, which you've read in the report that Caitlin Green, who has joined our team as the IDEA advisor. Madam Chair, through you, is Caitlin able to show herself on camera?
Yes, absolutely. We'd welcome it. Thank you.
Okay, so Caitlin, just please show yourself on camera. So meet Caitlin, our idea advisor. Caitlin comes with a wealth of knowledge with ideas and really excited to have her on our team. We also have Kingsley also joining our team as a project analyst. Madam Chair, again, through you, could Kingsley show himself as well?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so Kingsley, say hello. Again, just another EDI person that we have in our on our team who will be supporting us in the work that we're doing here at the city. And so wanted to provide that quick update for you. You'll see as well that we have officially hired MMP who will be doing the strategy for the city. As I mentioned previously, I'm able to let you know that we have also created EDI champions across the organization who will be helping with us with the work. You'll see those who have been identified on that list here. Again, and we are going to be engaging you all on this committee who would be able to support with a special meeting at some point to be able to provide your input, your insights with MMP as well too. So that should be coming. Now, I know I have 5 minutes. I want to make sure that I use my time very, very wisely. And so I do have, if you recall last week or last time we met, I had talked to you about the illumination policy review and where I had asked around, looking for creative ways for us to engage the community and engage you all. And so we have done some research here. We've provided you with the previous policy that highlights the illumination that the city does yearly. And what we're asking here is that is there a way that the committee could suggest 20 additional, I believe it's, 20 additional, 19, additional days that the committee can provide to us that we can use as part of our 20, I'm nervous today because there's a lot of things that have been happening and just got some news. And so I apologize. But so we are looking at having a total of 80 illumination that the city will illuminate every year. Now we're saying that 40 would be the community that can bring in their request and suggest 40, but we're also looking as a committee and also as a city to develop 40 of that. And so we're asking you to help us create 19 of those days. We have provided you with a diversity calendar of what are those days that you feel as a community we need to recognize, and asking for you to support us with that. And so you'll see in our report here that we have identified 13 days that we feel should stay. Those 13 days are days that are, again, very much aligned with council's strategic priorities, as well as, other initiatives that the city has taken on. And so we're asking you to help us with the rest of the 19 that will become the permanent. And then we're going to go ahead and also bring your attention to, and again, this is a staggered approach, so we're not looking at possibly hearing, if we don't finish that today, that's okay. We're hopeful to bring this back again in October and get some more insights from you as well. We recognize that it might take some time in developing these dates and finding out, what might work for our community. I also want to bring your attention to the community engagement, which is a bit at the very bottom of there. You'll see some of the work that we've been doing in the community. One in particular that I want to raise to you is the Indigenous flag poles installation. And so when we engaged a few of the community members, we learned about how they want to celebrate the flags going up. And as we have learned that this process might take some time, and so we will look at 2025. And so if you do see those flag poles hanging empty, there's a strategy and there's a process, and I wanted to make sure that you are aware of that. And I'm sure I have about 2 more minutes left. So I'm going to draw your attention to another piece that we have been working on in our department, which is the ethnocultural space. I'm asking for us to, that's how the motion that came out of council called it, the ethnocultural group in the space. I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for us to actually call it community groups to ensure that how we capture all identities and all groups. And so here we are providing a strategy where here council asked us to look at ways that we can provide space. And I know that Councilor Hassan, who is here with us today, was one of the folks who led this and brought this motion forward. And so we have done some research, and we're wanting to pilot this 2-year program about how we can allow emerging community groups to use the city spaces. We have outlined a few recommendations that we think need to be considered. And we're asking you, does this suffice? Or is there something that we're missing? How are other ways that we can engage those who are wanting to use this space? And so we lay out some of our recommendations, such as we want to make it barrier-free. We don't want it to be any more barriers. So ensuring that, whatever cost that's associated with the space, that it's free and that folks are able to utilize the space, as well as identified a space that could be used in the for this pilot project. And then looking also at some of the other ways that this free project intersects with some of the other initiatives that we have, such as the fee waiver policy and neighborhood activation funding and whatnot. Am I at time?
I'll give you another 20 if you need it.
Okay, all right. And so I just want to bring your attention that we're also seeking your thoughts also on here as well too, around, our recommendation. Is this, does this suffice? What are some of the things that we're missing? We're really wanting to hear your thoughts. And so I will pause here for now, but those are the 2 critical pieces that I wanted to bring to your attention today and wanted to get your engagement and your feedback over the next hour or so.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. All right, so I would like to open it up to committee members. So you can hear staff are looking for, obviously questions are great. Feedback, anything you have to offer would be welcome. Abraham, go ahead.
Thank you. So actually, I just have a question about, Vanessa, you were mentioning about the elimination policy. And you remember last August 15th, there was an agreement that the City Hall would be illuminated with the tricolors for the commemoration of the Independence Day for India. And we, we communicated it to our, people, and there were about 250 people in the Confederation Park waiting to see the illumination, but nothing happened. So everyone got into despair. And do you have an answer? What happened, or
So
to prevent it's not happening in the coming years?
So Abraham, thanks for your question. As chair, I think that's a very specific incident that I think that will require some follow-up. I'm not sure this meeting's the right space for that, but is that something, I'm just looking to Vanessa as well. Like, does that sound like something we can follow up with afterwards?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm able to follow up and then provide an update at another time.
Abraham,
Yeah,
is that okay?
Yeah, I would like to, have an answer. What happened? We need to know what happened because it was announced. It was announced in the city schedule.
Mhm.
And what happened? Nobody got an answer
Yeah.
about what happened. So
Thanks, Abraham.
we
So
would
I'll
like
make
to
sure city staff are
look
going
back.
to follow up with you
Mhm.
after this meeting, and we'll see what we can find out for you, okay?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
no.
good. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Good question. Any other questions or comments from the committee about the report we have today? Hal, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not very good on process, so I'm not sure this is relevant at this point. But on page 3 of the report, down near the bottom where you talk about the IDEA strategy and framework, there's mention made about engagement with the MNP consultant. It says staff will plan a special meeting for the EDI advisory committee in the fall to share feedback with the MNP committee. I'm assuming you're working on that, but my question is this: will that allow? And I got a lot of input to make, so I just want to make sure that when you design that process, that it's not just a quick, going around the table of 10 people in the committee. Will there be ample time? I'd like to suggest there's ample time for input from each member. That's my point.
Okay. Thank you, Hal. I've paused your time. Staff like to respond? Vanessa, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, through you. And so how there is, we're hoping for a special meeting. The meeting will be about an hour and it would be for the committee as a whole. And so unfortunately, there wouldn't be an opportunity for a one-on-one. It's not designed and set up that way. And so I'm hoping that you would have an opportunity to present some of the ideas that you have and that they would make room, of course, for other people to share as well too. But to your question, if you're looking at and wondering if there's opportunity for one-on-one, that's not how it's set up, but we are hopeful that within that 1 hour that's given to the committee that we could certainly utilize it really well. And we don't want to rush the process by allowing it to be part of this meeting where, like you said, where there are other things happening. And that's why we want to make sure that we set aside time for that.
Great. Thank you, Hal.
Thank you.
Hal, any further questions or comments?
No.
No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay, Ophelia, hi.
Sorry, just have to come off the mic. So I missed the last meeting, so I just have a question. Are you wanting input for the illumination days now or for us to do it at another point?
Vanessa?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I would really like to hear some thoughts from the committee today around how we go about this process. So if you see in the report, we had over in 2022, we had 106 illumination. In 2023, we had 120. And so far in 2024, the year is not done yet. We've had 122. which essentially means that every other day City Hall is being illuminated, which then takes away from the beauty and the significance and the emphasis, the significant emphasis of illuminating City Hall. We're trying to streamline that. And so if as a community, clearly what it tells me is that either what we have in the policy is not relatable to people, or that the community has different ways of wanting to celebrate. And so my hope as part of this meeting today is to be able to come up with the additional 19 that will complement the 13 that we feel needs to remain, and then have it to have the 40 that would be, first come, first serve. And of course, I want to add that we will make sure that how we advertise and communicate that well, so that other folks are aware of how to, bring in the ideas, so that we're not at a place where we're illuminating City Hall. At this rate right now, we're likely going to be illuminating City Hall anywhere from 150 to 175, which I think then defeats the purpose of illuminating City Hall. So I would love to get your engagement today, but wanted to provide some more context and content since my time was really rushed. Thank you.
Okay, so I have some ideas, but I'll let Jimmy has his hand up, so.
Oh, no, he gets to wait till you're done. You have 5 minutes.
Oh. So I was thinking, I'm not sure if it's the illumination is around like celebrating a community. Is it also like to highlight an issue? So that was my other question, or is it both?
Vanessa?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. So it certainly could be both. And so I shared the diversity calendar as part of the report so that we can get some ideas about how, again, according to the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, what they have curated as ways that we Canadians are celebrating their days. And so it could be, whatever the community decides as important, whether it's an issue, whether it's a day. I want to give you an example of one that came recently. There was an incident that took place in another community, and so the person had asked, the request what came in that we should illuminate the city that color that day. Yet, I think 4 days later there was going to be an illumination that is relatively close, right? And so sometimes staff are having to make these really hard and difficult decisions. Sometimes, community is not always happy that we might say no because it aligns with something else. And so this is where we're really hoping to engage the community in this process. And so you as subject matter experts within your communities might have days that are important, that are significant. We want to hear about it.
So the one that I'm just thinking of, and I also asked, forgive me if it's already there somewhere, is thinking just what's happening in our community, like the International Overdose Awareness Day. That's on, usually I think it's the end of August. And the other one I was thinking of is the International Transgender Day of Visibility. So those are the two things that I think would be some days that we could think about. I know you have Pride, but I think it's really important to those are the 2 days that I was thinking of.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, Ophelia? It's still your turn.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for your input. Okay, Councillor Hassan, over to you. You'll have to unmute though, so we can hear you, please. Councillor Hassan, you're muted right now.
Maybe somebody can unmute him, I think.
There
Okay.
we go.
Oh, there you are.
Thank you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah.
I'll restart
Thank you
your
very
time.
much. Yeah, thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, I have comments on Ibrahim's question first. It's I believe even if the schedule up there, each community have to, if it's from the community organization, then they have to apply every year for that particular day as a reminder. Like if it's a flag raising or if it's illumination or a proclamation, I think they have to apply that. I'm wrong, but that's what I'm assuming. That's what is happening with the other community. With the remaining days for the illumination, the city hall, a question to the staff, if that will be possibility to recognize and find out to some other minority and visible community living in Kingston, and maybe send them a letter of awareness, or let them know that is happening, and the city will be happy to illuminate if it's Independence Day or special day for that community. For example, is a huge community, is the Filipino, is a growing community right now in Kingston. They don't celebrate locally their Independence Day, but they are planning to do that. So that's just one example. So my suggestion is maybe we should send a letter to everyone if we have those, or connect with them and let them know that can be happen if they like to participate.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Councillor Hassan?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Okay, Abraham, I see your hand up. And just as a point of clarification, so normally procedurally what happens is people get a turn to talk and they have their 5 minutes and then that's it. Abraham, again, we're new at this. And so you asked a question before. I'm going to restart your time at 4 minutes and I'm going to certainly allow you to speak again. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. So that's okay. So it's a continuation of what Councillor Hassan just mentioned about the elimination policy. All my questions came from the explanation of what Vanessa did about the elimination policy, right? And I raised a question before you answered that. My question is that, Vanessa explained that there are more than 150 occasions when the city hall is being eliminated every year. So do we have a list of all those occasions, and is it public knowledge? And what's the basis of those eliminations?
Thank you. Vanessa. And Councillor Hassan, your hand's up. I don't know if you still want it up. Just to let you know.
No, yeah, okay. No, I don't have any question. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
I'm going to try to.
Okay. Vanessa, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. So yes, we do have a sense. We collect this information is public. So on the website, we published all the different awareness and the different reasons why the City Hall is being illuminated. And so that is available for anyone in the public to see. What we're trying to do here is that the community often comes with ideas. We're trying to pare it down, because what we're seeing is that illuminating, so we have 365 days in a year. If we're illuminating City Hall 150 times, that is not effective. And so we found a balance of the 80 being what is effective. And so we're hoping that for this group, being the city's EDI advisory group, to provide us insights about what you think would be ideal. And so this is an activity that we're hoping to do annually. So every year we want to come back to this committee to say, what are the additional 19 that needs to be added that are permanent, and then out of the 40, so now we're not going to do first come first serve indefinitely. We're going to do it so that there will be 40 spots to fill in a year. And so it means that will be first come first serve, and as I mentioned, you being very strategic about how we advertise that, so everyone has an opportunity to apply and to put in their request for illumination. But we're really hoping to hear from you all what again is important to this committee based on your influence in the memberships of the different groups you belong to. But yes, so if you see here, we have days like what Ophelia had shared with us earlier. International Day for Transgender Day, International Day for Overdose. There is International Day for Heart and Stroke Day. I mean, there are a slew of reasons why City Hall is eliminated, from things that are locally and as well as different events that are happening, tragic events that have happened and whatnot. The policy does indicate that it cannot be spontaneous, which means that it cannot be out of a situation that has happened. So now we want to illuminate City Hall. The policy does speak against that. That doesn't, not against it, but does not allow that for City Hall to be illuminated for those reasons. Not sure if that answers your question.
Abraham?
Yeah, in part, actually, you mentioned about there is a policy with the city to choose when it's need to be eliminated, but do we have a criteria that allows people, say, for example, tomorrow I am coming to you, say that, oh no, tomorrow is my birthday. Do you want to illuminate the city hall? Just a joke, okay? Do you have a policy or a strict kind of criteria of, who can apply for that or who can move that? Do we have something like that?
So Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you again. Yes, we do. So the policy spells out what the criteria are in order for City Hall to be illuminated. But right now, the policy says first come, first serve, and there's no defined end point to that. That is why we're trying to adjust and make that change to that policy. So if you think about this, this is a staggered approach. So the first time when I approached this, I brought this to your attention. I had mentioned it today. We're looking at this exercise. And so we are looking at making this policy a bit more tighter and more defined and not as open as it is right now, because that in its part is part of the issue. And so even in my report, I do allude to the fact that, it is first come, first serve. It has to be an issue that is significant to Kingston. And so there are some restrictions around that is highlighted in the policy, and the policy was attached to the report as well for you to review as well too.
Thank you. Abraham?
Okay, sounds good. Actually, the only thing is that, we have to have a policy, and we have to have, you mentioned about, first come, first served, but that's very vague, right? So we have to have to follow a policy to whom or to which occasion that we accept, things like that,
Okay. Thank you.
All right. That's it from mine.
Okay, great. Thanks. Did anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak yet on the committee have any questions or comments you'd like to share? I actually have some. Ophelia, could I pass the chair to you, because I have some opinions, I think, and questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. All right, through you, Madam Chair. So I just want to challenge staff a little bit on this, respectfully, of course. So thinking about, I think you're right. I think the policy needs tightening up. I think that the idea of having, so it was 40 with input from the committee and different community groups. I think that's a great idea to have those, the permanent ones that will sort of be reevaluated every so often. That makes absolute sense. What I want to challenge on is the idea of only 80. And I take your point of it feeling like if it's lit up all the time, is it ever really lit up? So I take that point. But what I'm wondering is, if we're thinking about sort of the community more broadly, and if people are meeting the criteria that we're setting for illuminating City Hall, is there really a problem with having it lit more often than not? And I ask that just, again, to provide a different perspective. I'm open to sort of thinking more about this in different ways. And I just wonder, because anytime I personally see City Hall lit up, I know I always wonder, what's it lit for? Because it seems to be sort of the community is aware that when the city is lit with different colors, or City Hall itself is lit with different colors, there's usually a reason for it, right? Like it's not just willy-nilly lit up every night. So I wonder if, I just want to encourage staff to think about that. I don't know where the number 80 came from. If you want to, address that, I welcome it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Vanessa?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, you're right. We were anticipating this and was actually quite open and would welcome the committee if the committee said 80 is too small. And so 80 was a number that we looked at based on the average similarities of the different illuminations. So as you heard, Ophelia, I go back to your example again, if that's okay, where we have Pride Day, but there's Transgender Day. There's also multiple days that recognize the 2S LGBTQIA group. So I think there's this year alone, there was about 8 different days that was recognized. And so that's how we look at consolidating some of those dates. And that's how we arrived at the number 80, because there's some dates that were related. And so we are certainly open to more than 80. We wanted to, this is part of why we trust you and your subject matter expertise to provide us that insight. We came here saying, here's a number that we are beginning with. And so if the committee feels like we need to expand that, certainly that is something that we can look at. So if we needed to look at going beyond the 80, the 40-40, we could certainly do that. And so we welcome that, and we would certainly look at that. This is why we're here, to get your thoughts on it.
Councillor Stevens, do you have more?
Thank you. Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I am of the opinion that in this particular case, more isn't less. And I don't think that lighting it more often diminishes other lightings. I think that based on like the incredible diversity we have here in Kingston, there are groups that we know about, there are groups we don't know about, there are events and things of importance to our community. I think that if we were to put a limit on it, and we, you know, first come, first serve, and all of the things you've said make sense, but I would be concerned that we might hit a point where we filled up all the spots, and then there is some other important community event, but they didn't have everything organized by January, so they didn't get it in time. And I personally think that lighting it more is fine, if not beautiful. I like seeing it lit up. And I think that if we could find a way to almost make it more accessible, like, I don't know if it's even, you know, a QR code posted outside City Hall or something like that, where it's a way to just sort of quickly see like whatever it is that City Hall is lit up for that day. I don't know. I think that would be an interesting way to think about it. So thank you, Madam Chair. I'm done.
Can I pass it back to you?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any other committee members who would like to comment or ask questions?
I would if I had any more time. I'm not sure.
I'll permit it. Go ahead.
Okay. So my other question, I know you mentioned that you didn't want to do it sort of willy-nilly and not something spontaneous, but is there room within the policy, and forgive me again for if it is already in there, because sometimes in our community things happen, right? And I think sometimes we need to leave room to respond to it. Like there needs to be a way to respond. Because I know lighting up something we think is only a celebration or commemoration of an idea, a community, and that's great. I love that because it's shining focus on a policy or an issue in our community. But sometimes we need to leave room for something not spontaneous, but if we see something happening in our community, it might be a way, like, okay, for instance, let's say the overdose one is not one that we select, but if we were seeing in our community that this is something that could be another way to highlight an issue that is in our community, right? So I'm just wondering if we could also consider that, to have room within the policy that I know that we're not responding to things off the cuff, but also have room in the policy that we are responding to something that's happening in our community, that we can use high illumination to highlight something, right? So I'm just thinking, I think that's an important balance that we need to also have in a way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did staff want to respond?
Yeah, so currently the policy, the way that the policy is written, Ophelia, does not allow for that to happen currently. And I appreciate your insights, and I've certainly made a note of that, about that could be part of our review at this process. I do also think that it's important to highlight that, you know, the illumination policy also needs to be considered as part of the heritage consideration, and like some of the limits that it sets as well too. And so there is certainly a broader conversation to be had around what that looks like. And so certainly we'll take those feedback that you provided us today, and also look at how it pairs and how it aligns with some of the other considerations, such as the heritage piece, and then certainly provide some more insights later on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee members who wish to speak?
I'm so sorry. Can I just add one last thought too? And so part of also too, Madam Chair, thank you, and through you, there's also another committee too, as you know, that it's parallel to us, the Heritage Committee as well too. And so they will certainly have input as well too as part of this process.
Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we are through committee members. Are there any questions from the public?
Through you, Madam Chair, we do not have any members of the public in the viewing gallery.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Thank you very much for this information report to staff. There are no motions, there are no notices of motions, there's no other business, and there is no correspondence. So the next meeting of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee is scheduled for Monday, October 24th, 2024 at 1 p.m. With that, can we please move to adjourn? Can I have a mover, please?
Aye.
Hal, and a seconder? Councillor Hassan, thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.